Thanks everyone. Welcome to Cabinet. Good evening. Thank you. There are no fire exits, no fire drills scheduled, so the fire exits, I think we're all aware of where they are. If, like all normal meetings, I can ask you to turn your phones to silent for me, please. It'd be much appreciated. Do we have any apologies for absence, please?
No apologies.
Thank you. Would anyone like to comment on the minutes of the previous meeting, or should we take them as read? No, I shall sign them later in the meeting. Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest from members at all? No? Thank you. Any Cabinet member announcements, please? Councillor Uten.
Yes, Chairman, just a brief announcement to give the good news that the mental health drop-in centre that's been talked about for a long time is well underway now, and it's very much hope that it will open sometime during the spring. And obviously, as things get sorted out and finalised, more news will come forward. But that's very good news for everybody. And thank you to the team who have put so much work into dealing with it. Yeah, I see one of them's over there, so thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. Councillor Lambert.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I would like to state that tomorrow evening are the national finals of the LABC Building Excellence Awards. And as you know, we have 3 entrants and we wish them all the very, very best of luck.
Well done.
Well done, everyone. Thank you. Councillor Uten.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I'm delighted to have been to view the 3 houses that now are due to be inhabited any moment, I think, aren't they? There's a 4-bedroomed detached house, which is specifically designed for disabled, and there are 2 absolutely super 3-bedroom semi-detached houses. They've been built to the highest possible standard. They're absolutely lovely, and they're Horsham District Home's latest venture. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you, Councillor Uten. I saw the press release this week. It's excellent news. Councillor Bradman.
Excuse me. Just to say that the recycling of the coffee pods is about to launch. We've got some excellent literature on it, and there will be something delivered to every house about it, explaining all the why-fors and wherefores and how to do it, which is quite important, I think. So that's about to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Noel.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, this is to do with the coronation, which is actually looming up large on our radars, at more or less the same time as the local elections. So following on from the success of our Jubilee celebrations last year, we're proposing a grant of up to £200 again to be made to support our parish and neighbourhood councils with their local events to mark the coronation from Saturday the 6th of May to Monday the 8th. This proposal will go to full council for review and approval on the 22nd of February. In addition, we will be looking to waive the fees once again for all the public street party road closures over the special bank holiday weekend. And we will also be organising a community event in the Carfax Town Centre on Sunday, 7th of May, 2023, for everyone to come and enjoy themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Any chief executive announcements? Lovely. I'm informed we have no public questions on notice, so we shall move to the substantive item, the medium-term financial budget and strategy. And I'm sorry to say, it's quite a lot of me speaking this evening. The 2023-2024 budget and medium-term financial strategy paper contains a lot of detail set out in the report and appendices. In summary, the key details of this council are: 1, to continue to recognise the importance of the cost of living is having on residents, and is proposing only a 2.99% increase in council tax, which is well below the current levels of inflation. This equates to an increase of only £4.85 per year on a Band D property, which is a fraction over 9 pence per week. 2, This council is continuing to support residents who are finding the cost of living tough going at the moment, with £1 million in 2023-24, which will be used to support those on council tax support and other benefits, as well as those who are on benefits line through the community and housing services, and as well more through support for our voluntary sectors. 3. The council is proposing a £15 million environment and infrastructure earmark reserve to tackle improvements to our environment and decarbonisation, as well as towards the ongoing replacement of significant infrastructure. 4. The council is investing in infrastructure an £8.5 million capital programme, providing infrastructure and facilities for all our residents in 2023-24. Of course, all this comes in the context of rising inflation, the increasing our council's net services by £1.2 million compared to last year, and a forecast budget deficit of the future, which will need close attention over the next 12 to 18 months to close the gaps. The situation is not helped by significant uncertainties around future government funding and the cost and timings regarding the collection of food waste. We are, though, able to do this as a result of sustained and prudent and sensible financial management. The council has healthy reserves, which put us in a good position to sensibly both invest for now and the future. We do need to be mindful that the sizable costs we face over the remainder of this decade, especially at the expensive replacement and refurbishment of large infrastructure projects, at the same time of reducing our carbon footprint. A full list of recommendations are set out on page 12 and 13 of the report, which will go to council in February. We did pick up a small typo that the date of the council meeting in February is wrong under recommendation A. The council meeting is on, I believe it's the 22nd of February, and the year is 2023, not 2022. Any questions from any cabinet members, please? Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Chair. I notice on page 16, the minimum reserve level is at £6 million. And I understand this has been the same for the last few years. In view of the current inflation rate, do you intend to change this?
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. This question was raised by a number of councillors, and this matter was considered. The Director of Corporate Resources evaluated it as Section 151 officer. It is down to the Section 151 officer to give us prudent financial advice and set that level of reserves. I further went back after I was queried by another councillor to ask what the level of reserves other councils were set at. And indeed, this question was even brought up over in scrutiny on Monday, and I was flabbergasted to find out that the minimum level under CIFRA guidance is 5%, which would be less than £1 million for our council. I don't know how you'd feel about that, but that would be almost a month's worth of cash flow, so that would sound ridiculously low to me. The level of net expenditure for other councils in Sussex was between 12 and 27%, if my memory serves me right. And our current £6 million is around 40 to 44% of net expenditure. So it would seem incredibly prudent. It would seem higher than any other council has set in West Sussex. So based on the financial recommendations of our Section 151 officer, I'm happy to support the level at £6 million. Thank you.
Acting Leader, I've got a question.
Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you. It's on page 95, it's Appendix I, with regard to the BT Exchange car park, if I can ask a question about that. We have in recent years been using it as a commuter car park or promoting it, but I see that there is a ingenious way of promoting it more with discounts for those that buy a number of spaces, 10 or more, and discretionary discount for those in the charitable sector. Could you just explain a bit more about the thinking about this and the success that we hope to achieve?
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. This was a reasonably recent addition to the budget that's gone in, so I think it's probably right and prudent that we discuss it. The local economy has been very successful. We've heard that almost every unit in the town centre is full. Our car parks are bouncing back successfully to pre-COVID levels. And whilst the majority of our car parks have been very successful, one area we are struggling with a budget on car parking, we are approximately £300,000 a year down in our season ticket holders. And if you equate that, that's almost the amount of council tax increase. So over 3 years, that could be £1 million hole in our budget. And the reason is commuters aren't travelling to London, and our commuter car parks are significantly suffering from a change in personal circumstances, a change in living. People are working from home more, they're not travelling to London, they're not commuting by trains. The BT car park was hoped that it would be a sort of undercut British Rail, or certainly be very competitively priced against British Rail, and try to encourage the use of that car park. That hasn't been quite successful. I am happy to approve the recommendation that you just read out, based on our officers doing a great job of trying to maximise season ticket holder revenue in those car parks, and this scheme would seem prudent and would seem logical to offer some level of discounts to try to promote usage in that what is currently an underutilised car park.
Thank you, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Any further questions from Cabinet members on the budget at all? Any questions from other members present? No. That was quick and painless. So we have some recommendations before us on page 12 and 13, I believe, of our papers. Just for the purpose, can Cabinet members show of hands? Thank you. For the purpose of the audio recording, that's a unanimous vote. Item 7 on the agenda, I believe it was pages 1995, but with the addition, it may be 2 or 3 pages back with the last item that Councillor Mitchell mentioned. This is the Council Tax Reduction Scheme. The current Council Tax Reduction Scheme supports around 2,400 pensioners and 3,160 working age families, providing help with paying their council tax. No changes are proposed to the scheme, which is required to be reviewed annually. The report also requests approve for continuing without change the modified scheme for voluntary disregard of war disablement pensions and war widows pensions and housing benefit claims, which in simple terms removing this higher amount of income from the housing benefit calculation. Cabinet is recommended to approve to full council: 1, no change in the council tax reduction scheme for 2023-24 other than the updates prescribed by government to reflected change in the wider benefit system. 2, no changes to the modified systems under the housing benefit subsidy, whereby the council locally and voluntarily disregards war disablement pensions and war widow pensions in housing benefits calculations. Do I have any questions from Cabinet members at all? Any questions from other members present? No. Thank you. You've heard the 2 recommendations as read out. Can I have a show of hands from Cabinet members for approval? Thank you. For the purpose of the audio recording, that's a unanimous vote. We move on to item 8 on our agenda, and I apologise that I'm doing all the talking, but it's still me. Business Rates Discretionary Charitable Relief Scheme. The report provides Cabinet with a recommendation not to change the existing discretionary rate relief scheme for charities and non-profit organisations. The current scheme grants charitable relief up to 100% for eligible organisations. The discretionary rate relief is set annually scheme and therefore requires the annual review and approval of Cabinet. The recommendation is to refer the discretionary rate relief scheme for 2023 as detailed in appendix to Council for approval. Do I have any questions from any Cabinet members? No. Do I have any questions from anyone else in the room? Any other members? No. Okay, we have a recommendation set before us. Can I have a show of hands, please, to approve the recommendation? Thank you. For the purpose of the audio recording, that's a unanimous vote. Moving on, I've got in my item number 9, overview and scrutiny recommendations. Does the chairman of overview and scrutiny wish to have any recommendations?
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, on Monday we discussed both the medium-term financial strategy and the budget. And although there were a lot of questions and there were some points about the longer-term capital programme, there weren't any particular issues that I was asked to bring to this meeting tonight. So maybe we should have said that a bit earlier, but nothing really to report. Thank you.
Thank you. I did make a note that Overton Street was broadly supportive with it. Thank you. Okay, we have the forward plan printed. That's item 10 on our agenda. That's just for noting. Item number 11 in front of us is consider a matter of general exception. I'll just read out the brief as I've got it here. General exception has been used with regard to publication of a key decision for this item. This item is to approve and accept the allocation of £2.6 million from the government and add £3.21 million of our own funding to provide 14 standard homes and 2 larger homes by the 30th of November 2023 deadline. The reason it was not on the forward plan was because it was Department for Levelling Up Housing and Communities, DLUC, only recently announced a new £500 million local authority housing fund for the financial year. A decision is needed by the end of this month, and all elements of the general exception of the Council's constitution have been complied with. So my apologies for the late notice for this item, which wasn't on the forward plan until the last few days. However, it was sent to the Finance PDAG and the Housing and Public Protection PDAG this week have been notified. I believe the Lib Dem group have also received notification and a briefing on this item, as did Overton Scrutiny meeting on Monday. The reason being that the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Community, DLUC, only announced the £500 million scheme in late December, and details of how it works have only just started to emerge in January, and there are still some things to work out, but we will consider that there is enough information to take a decision and go ahead with the opportunity at this stage. We will be taking this to Council for a decision in February, which means the deadline for signing the formal Memorandum of Understanding for DLUC before the 1st of March 2023. The recommendation is to accept the following allocation of £2.656 million funding from the government and add £3.67 million of our own funding to provide 14 standard homes and 2 larger homes by the 30th of November 2023 deadline. This is to help provide accommodation for families fleeing conflict in Ukraine and Afghanistan, as well as helping to fulfil the UK's humanitarian duties and assist those fleeing war. The fund will create a lasting legacy for UK nationals by providing a new and permanent supply of accommodation to local authorities to help address local housing need and homelessness pressures. Naturally, we may not be able to source all the properties ourselves in a very short time frame before the end of November at the right price, but we do have options open to us to grant the registered providers and or return the unspent grant if we do not quite manage it. We believe the Council has a role to play to the UK's help in humanitarian duties and to assist those fleeing war, and financially the grants help contribute a positive revenue return to our own council expenditure, likely to be funded from reserves. The 4 recommendations are set out on page 117, where the Cabinet recommends the Council to 1. Provide with the application for and receipt of grant allocations for the Council to provide or facilitate provision of 14 standard properties and 2 larger homes. 2. Approve capital spend up to £5.866 million in the 2023-24 capital programme, the amount to be added being based on whether the Council decides to and or is not able to proceed with the full amount and or passing on to registered providers. 3. Delegate to the Director of Resource, in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Finance and Parking and the Cabinet Member for Housing and Public Protection, the decision to provide housing through whatever means or work with registered providers to provide the housing in both instances to enable the use of the grant funding to be maximised. Thank you. Any questions from Cabinet members?
I don't have any questions, but I've got a sort of short statement really, which is praising, I think, most of what you've said. Obviously, I'm in support of the recommendation for Horsham District Council to be part of the central government local authority housing fund. And we are very fortunate to be in a position that we can match the capital required to identify and acquire these additional homes for households that have been so horrendously affected by conflict in their home counties. The households have fled with nothing to a new and unfamiliar country to then be housed in shared and short-term accommodation. In my opinion, progressing this opportunity is the right thing to do. In the short term, it provides more appropriate accommodation for Ukrainian and Afghan households. In the longer term, if they are able and want to return to their respective countries, we are then able to use the homes for households in need on our own housing register. Separately, we are continuing to use S106 funds to develop accommodation within our housing company, and we will work with registered provider partners to deliver a pipeline of homes for households on our housing register. So in other words, the desire is to separate our housing register requirements with this, which is a particularly one-off thing that we are extremely lucky to be able to take up. A lot of councils don't have the money to be able to do it. And due to careful financial management, I think we're in that fortunate position. So I do thoroughly recommend it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Utan. Any other Cabinet members' questions? Any questions from members? Councillor Bevis.
Yeah, we did discuss this, as you mentioned, at ONS on Monday. We didn't have time to get it on the agenda, but it came up under announcements, and the Director of Finance was able to take us through it, and it was very warmly supported by the committee.
Thank you. Councillor Roby.
Yes, I mean, it's less a question, more to just raise our support of this. I think it's a really important scheme, and I was very pleased to hear Councillor Utan say that we're also looking at getting things in the pipeline for people on our existing housing list, because I think that's really important. I think it's an excellent thing to do, and really it's following on from the values of our residents who've taken in many families, and they've made the efforts to provide safe space for people fleeing war and the sort of horrors of Ukraine. So I just wanted to say that as a group, and me personally, I think this is a wonderful thing, and I'm fully supportive of it.
Thank you. Any other members wish to comment at all? No. We have a recommendation, I believe it's on page 117 of the Cabinet agenda. Could I have a show of hands for support? Thank you. For the purpose of the audio recording, that's a unanimous vote. And I believe that is the end of our agenda this evening, unless there's any other business. No. Okay, thank you. I declare the meeting closed.